Hello, everybody, and welcome to Norm, the Cheers podcast that isn't. Not unlike the rain that is supposedly outside my house that is actually snow. Yeah, apps lie. This is supposed to be rain. Steve Jobs told me it was going to be rain, and it's snow.
For what if it's helpful in Rhode Island, it is rain. So it's rain somewhere.
Look, it's easy to be right in Rhode Island.
It needs the first two letters.
That's not a challenge. That's not a challenge. A happy early Ides of March birthday to Dave.
Thank you.
Very happy. Do you have anything exciting planned for it?
I will be in rehearsal, and then my daughter has threatened to make some sort of flourless chocolate individual cake upon my return tomorrow night. So we'll see
Party
if this,
time.
yeah, we'll see if this actually comes to fruition.
What are you rehearsing?
Play called Indecent by Paula Vogel at the Wilbury Theater Group, going up in
Very
April.
nice. Paula Vogel, the queen of lighthearted comedy.
This is a cool play. If anybody's ever interested, I'll talk more about it as we get closer to it. It's a great
Yeah,
play.
I'm a big fan of Paula Vogel. That was not meant. I mean, just like indecent sounds absolutely like a Paula Vogel play, and there's going to be a lot of sorting through your feelings during this rehearsal process in a way that does not happen when you do noises off. You know what I'm saying?
It's yeah. It's not how I learned to drive kind of level of
Yeah,
sort of dragging you through the muck. But this is a cool one. This is a cool one.
yeah. But she's a brilliant playwright, and that should be a great experience. That should be fun.
Much
Yep.
excited. Much
Mhm.
excited.
My son's birthday is today, and he is celebrating it his favorite way by not going to school.
Cool. I always take my birthday off too. So shout out to Kyle.
There you
Nice.
go.
What's
Well, this is the school's choice, not his.
Ah,
I mean, he would have stayed home. We were going to send him to school, and then they canceled school, which is what happens all the time now. I feel like this is the new winter where, like, we don't get a lot of snow, and then March we get like a bunch of surprise snow, and then it's spring.
yeah. Yeah.
And so they get really reactionary with canceling school because they didn't have a bunch of snow days. So they start going, well, we got some to spare. Yeah, let's go ahead and cancel.
I guess. Man, snow days were a rare treat
Mhm.
back in my day.
Yeah, what happens less in the city? Like, I mean, because you went to school in Cambridge, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like there's a lot more public transportation to
Right.
get kids to and fro where they need to go. So it's going anyway.
Yeah, but it's the principle of the matter. Give us a snow day.
I'm with you.
I
You
once had
deserve
a
it.
year without any snow days. It was ridiculous.
That's brutal.
It
That's
is
brutal.
awful.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I was looking for a silver lining, and then I'm like, you know what? Tookie just needs to be in this dark place right now, and I'm going to be there with her. She's going to be Eeyore, and we're going to be Piglet and Pooh just sitting there going, all right, you're going to be down right now, and we're just going to be down with you.
Yeah, just sitting in the tree.
I need that. I need that. I need this.
There you go. There you go.
That's a pretty apt description, I would say, of like the whole sort of like January to late March experience in New England. We're all
It,
just gonna sit in a room together and be
Yeah.
there for each other.
it really kind of is. Yeah. It's like, all right, guys, we're just holding hands and getting through it.
But also abolish daylight savings for the love of God. No more of this.
I'm 100% on your band. I mean, again, when the Kavanaugh Johnson administration takes power, that should be signing number one.
I've I've started to be of a different mind on this. And I hesitate to say this because I know it's going to disappoint the both of you. I, I I like the longer days, of course. I'm starting to think about what those dark mornings are going to feel like if we actually did go to Atlantic time. Like just getting like a big chunk of your morning done in pitch blackness, like we're Amish folk in witness. I don't know.
It might not be as terrible as it seems. It might not be. It might not be.
I guess.
It
Have we
might
thought
not be.
this through though? What those mornings are going to feel like?
And
Like think
what
about how rough waking up in the morning can be, and now have it not be morning.
okay, but But another thought, what if instead of playing with time and adjusting clocks, we adjust the workday itself? So in the winter, we start later.
Well, that's a beautiful argument right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I support that thoroughly.
Yeah, instead of the typical 8 to 4, 9 to 5, we have 10 to 6.
All right. So now we're just changing the world.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Adjusting rather than messing with the planet. We've done enough already.
I was afraid we didn't have a plan.
Well,
Clearly, I was incorrect.
I'm just trying to see. This is part of my party platform.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
We've got the ideas.
Oh boy, I cannot wait to just start shipping you a monthly donation. I'm putting you on the Liz Warren plan.
That's exactly what we need. More emails.
Yeah, my native ancestry isn't quite enough in that regard, but
oh man,
we'll get
anyone
there.
else getting hit up by Jackie Rosen on an almost hourly basis?
Mm-hmm.
No comment.
Jackie, it's 2 more years. We can't do this every time.
Every time.
All right, let's talk about something that made me happy, which is this week's episode of Cheers, Season 5, Episode 20, Dinner at 8-ish. I delighted in this episode. I remembered enjoying it, and then I enjoyed it even more than I remembered enjoying it. Very, very fun.
This is a charmer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Strong episode. They're really realizing they need more Lilith Sternin. It's before she's become a series regular, which she never really wanted to be, apparently, as I was reading through this more. And she was just so funny. They just kept saying, no, just keep coming back more. And then, yeah, finally she's like, no, I'm really done. But yeah, this is, this is her 3rd appearance, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
Her 3rd appearance, and just becoming undeniable in this episode. Absolutely fantastic. You understand why this character has endured for 30 years. Like, never goes away completely. Just, she's so great. Phoebe Newirth, such a great actress, such a great interpretation of this character. Oh, so much good stuff happening here. Dave, what was going on when BB came back into our lives as Lilith?
Well, Dinner at 8-ish premiered on the 26th of February, 1987, and on the 25th of February, 1987, we had the release, finally, of the first 4 Beatles albums on compact disc.
Interesting.
Oh my goodness.
Can there be any more 80s moment than the slow transition of cultural artifact, cultural landmarks to digital media? CDs have obviously been around for several years at this point. They're not like I think they're shipping something like 500 million units or something, or maybe it was 50 million units in 87. So like a pretty huge number still as we transition kind of through the cassette era from LPs. But yeah, no Beatles albums were available until the day before this episode premiered. They're pulled right from the original mono masters. Now you can, and it did kind of signal the beginning of the digital Beatles era, which is, was kind of fraught with a lot of different, as the catalog changed hands and as rights had to be sort of sorted through. They famously weren't available on iTunes for years and years and years. There's always the Beatles have always kind of like lagged behind the rest of the world in digital music land.
Yeah, they're the mom and dad of music. Like every time there's a transition, it's that call from your parents going, "Hey, have you seen this Star Wars?" Yeah, they're like 4 years after everybody else has moved to a new platform.
Yeah, you can see the just like the sort of the time it takes to turn a big ship with the Beatles. There's so many lawsuits and the rights to everything are so kind of fraught and held in so many places and divided between American and British. It takes for them forever to put something out. So when they do put something out, it does become kind of a huge event, and it was. And these things like sold out in a matter of weeks. And we're kind of like
Sorry, Dave. I just before. Is this when Michael Jackson's still on the catalog?
I believe so. I believe he had bought it a couple of
Oh,
years earlier, out from under
wow.
Lennon McCartney. Yeah,
Mm.
Ooh, that was a dicey issue, wasn't it?
it was, because all of a sudden, you started seeing Beatles music popping up in weird, surprising places, Nike ads and such.
Wow.
Yeah, Mike was not quite as precious with the catalog as the Fab Four would have been, I believe.
Mm.
Which, in
Hmm.
retrospect, like, at the time, it felt like a huge sellout, at kind of facing like the wrath of the baby boomers. Like, oh my god, this meant so much. How can we sell sneakers? And now it's like, it's music, it's sneakers. We can figure it out.
Yeah, everybody uses them. Everybody, yeah. And so eventually, who did Michael buy them from? And then Paul McCartney bought them from Michael, right?
Yeah, I forget.
Ooh.
I forget. It must have been like EMI owned them, or had like a joint ownership with. I think, because this is just the Lennon McCartney stuff. They must have had a joint ownership with McCartney and Yoko, and I think there was clearly a kind of a split between Yoko Ono and McCartney, so they decided to sell, and that's when Jackson swooped in, if I remember right.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I never underst I never knew like the lore behind how, why, and when that happened.
There was a like 80s drama that we were a tiny bit privy to.
Mm.
Just because, like, so Michael Jackson and Paul McCartney had done Say, 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 which was a big hit.
I thought they did the Gosh Darn Girl Is Mine.
They
They
certainly
did.
did.
Okay.
They did do The Girl Is Mine.
Okay.
It wasn't the big hit because, as I recall, it was on Thriller. It wasn't one of the big Thriller cuts, though.
Yeah.
And Say, Say, Say was a big hit because it had a very popular video at the time
Huh.
that MTV was really exploding.
Okay.
So that was kind of a big deal. I remember Say, Say, Say being a bigger part of the zeitgeist than The Girl Is Mine, although I think The Girl Is Mine endured a bit better.
Hmm.
Yeah. And Dave is the music expert, though, so correct me if anything I'm saying is incorrect.
Oh
Uh,
man, The Girl Is Mine is bananas to this day. Like, I can't imagine a more goofier pop song.
It's really, that's the thing. Like, I feel like it's endured because it's so ridiculous. Like, it's, half of it is them, like, talking to each other in it. And some, like, McCartney, who's like 20 years older, they're arguing over the same girl. And it's all very weird.
Yeah, that
It's deeply sexless. It's real. It's like maybe the least horny thing that's ever been recorded.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Wow.
Like, because one of the guys is like 20 years older than the other guy, also been married for like 15 years. And then there's Michael. And I don't want to say anything else. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's really weird. It's a bizarre song. And I think Say, Say, Say is a legit good song. I like Say, Say, Say.
I agree.
I don't
Yeah.
think I've ever even heard Say, 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 to be honest with you. I know I'm missing
Oh,
out. I just
you
lost
gotta
dad
look that
credit.
video up
No.
on YouTube. If
Right.
only because there's a slightly romantic relationship between Michael and LaToya in that video.
Oh.
It's really weird, but the song is fun. Good song.
Okay. Okay.
Do you know
I
how
know.
much Michael Jackson paid for the Beatles catalog in 1987?
I don't.
$47 million.
Wow.
What?
Doesn't that seem like impossibly low?
Yep.
No.
But it's
No.
dollars.
At the
Like,
time, no.
yeah.
Yeah.
Then he sold it for like $500 million, right?
Yeah. McCartney,
Uh,
when McCartney bought it back, yeah.
for who? McCartney just had a half a bill lying around.
McCartney's got it.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, like he still made some money off of those songs, right?
It was he didn't have the licensing, but he has the writer's credits. So he's, anytime
Oh,
you're using it, he's taken in.
Yeah,
Okay. I was gonna say that.
McCartney, yeah.
No, I was gonna say that Wings money isn't quite Beatles catalog money.
It's not Beatles catalog money, but like Band on the Run sold a shit ton of copies,
All right.
you know. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that to come across as aggressive, Tookie. I really felt like Tookie went, oh, Jesus, sorry.
No, I'm on board,
I
but
didn't mean to disrespect wings, your Majesty. Sorry about
no,
that.
it's all right. It's all right. No, we saw McCartney at Fenway, and for whatever reason, like everybody was hyped. Like his first opening numbers were a couple Beatles songs. Everybody was like, "Oh my god!" People
Yeah.
losing their mind. And then he changes out his guitar, starts strumming, and starts singing "Temporary Secretary," and the whole Fenway Park sits.
Yeah, different vibe.
Different vibe. Whole
Yeah,
different vibe.
Wings is a let's sit down and enjoy this kind of. Let's see where
And
we're
I
gonna
think
go.
McCartney understands too that most of the people at that concert needed to sit down at that point.
Yeah.
So that was his subtle cue of like, I know what your hips are doing. Go ahead and sit.
Okay. Of course, Gronk was part of the finale. He brought out Gronk, and there were fireworks. And seeing Gronk dance was one of the most traumatic moments of my life, I think.
I want one day in my life where I enjoy being me as much as Rob Gronkowski enjoys being him every day.
Yeah, it's no disrespect to the man, but he shouldn't do that ever again.
But he will.
I know he will, and that's what upsets me.
Anyway, very good slice of life there, Dave. Tookie, can you tell us about this very brief cold open?
It's a short and sweet one. And, you know, I will say, because we've gotten some short and sweets with Frasier before, and then he has, you know, F all to do for the remainder of the episode. But no, this was a teaser that this would be a Frasier-centric episode. So we enter into the bar, and, you know, Norm is kind of stewing over some stuff, some paperwork. And Frasier's like, hey, what are you doing there, Norm? And Norm says, oh, well, Vera signed me up to give a speech at her women's auxiliary club. Hiccups. Oh, excuse me.
Ah.
I.
Uh-oh.
Right. It's fine. We're fine. Vera signed me up to give a speech at her women's auxiliary club, and I hate public speaking. You know, and Frasier's commiserating, like, yeah, man, you're not alone. It's awful. And Norm's like, yeah, you know, you stand there in front of a group of total strangers, your palms are sweaty and your throat's dry, your mouth feels like it's full of cotton, knees practically buckling. It's just you know, and Fraser's like, yeah, I don't know, it can be a miserable experience. So what's the topic? And Norm says, poise, the key to success. Roll credits.
Cheers. We're definitely getting into the simpler joke pattern of the cold open. All right. And then we'll move to the meat of the episode. We have an A story, which is most of it, and then a B story so that they can justify having the other characters in the credits. Carla has a date, even though she is dating Eddie LeBeck because he's in Vancouver and she needs to live. So, yeah, I was like, oh, I didn't like that she was kind of stepping out on Eddie. But her babysitter canceled, her mom, because she didn't want to be around the kids. Cliff offers to babysit. She pretends not to even hear it, tries to line up any other babysitter possible. Cliff keeps offering. Finally, she agrees to let Cliff babysit the kids. Later on, they throw Cliff tied up down the stairs. And that is the B story. That's the whole B story. Carla's awful, and it's weird that Cliff wants to spend time with them.
Yeah. Real quick, though, hog tying, is it a meme?
Well, I don't think this is hog tying.
Okay.
He's wrapped like a mummy.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, they kind of tied him up a little bit, no?
Oh, no, they tied him up.
He's definitely tied up, yeah.
Yeah.
Tied up. But hog tying, as I understand it, my degree in agriculture, it's like all the hooves together, right? So it's like at the rodeo where you got to get off hog time, and you tie the hooves together. So he would have to have his hands together. There is a chance I'm being a bit anal about this.
Okay, no.
But only because you're saying is hog tying a meme. I think my vote would be no on this.
All right.
Yeah, it seems like it's. I can think of it's been used as a punchline a few times, but it's not quite enough to justify like meme status. I feel like.
Fair.
Yeah. So there you go. And I'm really afraid someone's going to hear too much about tying people up, and this is going to get us a very different audience.
Are we gonna
Oh
do?
no.
We're gonna do mid episode reads for like restraint companies. I'm ready and willing.
Listen, Army Hammer, if you're tuning in, we're not with it.
Oh,
Please
man.
keep that to yourself.
Man, has anyone's career ever disappeared that fast?
Mm. We don't condone any of what you do, sir.
Mm-mm. Like, think about what people have come back from, and that dude's selling timeshares in the Bahamas right now.
Is he? I believe it.
Oof.
I believe it. Yeah, big woof.
And now, with the passing of Barbara Walters, he can't. Where's he gonna do his apology tour?
Oh yeah, R.I.P. the goat, the journalism goat.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Smear a little Vaseline on your lens for that one.
Oh wow.
Yeah. The original. She taught Streisand how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Good times. All right, let's get into the A story. Frasier and Lilith enter the bar looking very, very chipper, as Sam comments upon. And they announce that they are now living together, which is very exciting. They want to have Sam and Diane over as dinner guests to celebrate this this big step, which is weird. And you know it's going to get weird, and it's exciting. Let's cut to the fashionable townhouse of Frasier Crane, which is totally a place I want to live.
Mm-hmm.
I love his townhouse. I love how it's set up. It's all open concept. I love that nook, that little he's got over to the side with the desk and the lazy boy and it's really, really set up nicely. I like his townhouse.
Yeah, they killed the set design for this for that apartment. Like some
Yep.
of the sets have been a little up and down. This one I thought was superb.
Yeah. Yep.
The set dressers did their research.
They crushed it. They crushed it. Although here's something that's always struck me as a tiny bit odd, and this is probably something we'll edit this in post because this is probably not going to be that interesting. But it's a townhouse, and yet when you open up his door, it's an apartment building because there's a door across the way. Am I wrong?
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Huh.
So I'm like, it's a very, I can't think, he lives on Beacon Hill, and I'm trying to think of a building with that sort of structure where it's a townhouse apartment that opens into a communal hallway like that. And
Because the brownstones don't do that per se.
no, and I kept kind of trying to look and be like, maybe does that just open to like, is it his hallway? But it's clearly not. It's clearly an apartment building, a shared space.
I don't know. I guess maybe they didn't think that through. Or maybe some brownstones do. Like if you get further towards, not quite Back Bay, but maybe like the south end off of Mass Ave and like Washington Street, some of that area.
I feel like, I mean, you might be right. I feel like Frasier is Beacon Hill. I thought that was canon, that Frasier lives in Beacon Hill. Because he walks to Cheers.
Right.
He frequently walks to Cheers.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I mean, I guess they missed the mark in terms of that, but in terms of everything else, they nailed it.
Gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want to live in Frasier's townhouse.
Yeah. More so than his Seattle apartment?
Man, has anyone ever had the architecture history of Frasier Crane
So good.
on TV? I think it might be the Seattle apartment. Oh boy, that's a tough call.
That's a tough call, I know.
I mean,
know.
the Seattle apartment view is insane. Like that changes it because like that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just the impossible size of the Frasier Crane apartment in Seattle. Yeah, everyone's got a bedroom with their own bathroom, and like Daphne's way over here with a totally separate in-law apartment.
But I mean, what a fictitious view it is.
It is. Yeah. I guess I'm going with the Seattle apartment.
Oh, okay.
I think I am.
Okay.
For Boston architecture, for what they do there, I really, as much as I love the townhouse, if I was living in Boston, that's probably where I'd be. I love the view and the space in Seattle.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
I'm taking the Boston Townhouse until they bring back the Sonics.
Ooh.
There you go. There you go. They're getting another team soon, aren't they?
I mean, they don't threaten me with a good time, Adam Silver. They've been threatening for years.
Oh man. Well, I've heard Sean Kemp has been out here on his Nick Cannon lately.
Oh boy.
Oh, oh, Rain. Oh, Rain Man.
Yeah. He's
Uh,
kind of a mess. But
yep.
allegedly.
There's never been any greater example of short-term thinking than letting Clay Bennett move the Sonics to Oklahoma City.
Mm-hmm.
What a gigantic mistake and disaster that was. Just, it's been, as much as I like the OKC fans, and I really do like them a lot, like they have been crying poor ever since they moved there and said that's why we had to trade James Harden. We can't afford it.
Mm.
Like, you moved there, you had
That's
stars,
true.
couldn't keep them other than Russell Westbrook. You know, Kevin Durant wanted to leave. You haven't been able to get anybody to sign there. I mean, it's a disaster, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's a well run disaster. It's a disaster for the league in that you don't have a
Yeah.
team in one of the most cosmopolitan cities in the country.
Yeah. Big,
Revenue-wise, yeah.
big fail, David Stern. Big fail. All because they just refused to build their own arena. Because the guy who owns Starbucks said you have to build me an arena.
Yeah. I mean, bold.
Oh,
Bold.
guy.
It cost everybody essentially.
Nothing I like better than suffering because of a pissing contest between two rich white dudes.
And think about it. Think about what a bad business deal that was. Because if Howard Schultz had just built it himself,
He has
I
it.
don't know what he sold the Sonics for, but it was in that like 200 to 300 million range because it
Easily.
just had to be because that's what things were going for at that time. Maybe even less because of the unsettled arena situation. And now there is no team in the NBA that would go for less than $2 billion.
Right.
And if he had just built an arena on land in Seattle that they let him have, he would also have real estate, one of the most valuable real estate cities there, and the arena would be worth billions. He lost $4 billion because he wouldn't pony up. What would it have cost back then? Like a $200 million arena? $3?
Yeah.
He sold the team for $350. So
A pittance. A pittance.
Yeah. And when they do expand, that team's going to go for at least, what, 3.5? Phoenix just went for 4.
you would think, yeah.
Whoa.
Phoenix just went for $4 billion.
Whoa. The Suns?
Yeah.
They really haven't been all that great either. That's the crazy part.
They haven't been that great. Phoenix is a sneaky good franchise just because it's a place a lot of players want to go because of the weather. It's a good tax situation. It's really, you get to LA from there. It's very close.
They don't do daylight savings.
Yeah. I mean, when you buy a team, it could very possibly be the Suns. There's a lot for you to like there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Arizona's, and it's hugely popular in Phoenix. Like they were the first sports team that Phoenix got. So there's a real devotion to the Suns in a way that none of the other teams have. Like it's one of the few cities that I would say is an NBA city first. I don't think that's true of a lot of cities.
Not quite, no.
Yeah. What do you think what are the cities in the NBA where the NBA is clearly the number one sport there? Is it LA has an argument, I think. The Dodgers are super popular.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably a Lakers first city.
Knicks fans, I would say, are in deep denial. And no one in New York claims the Nets.
Yeah.
We're just like, we don't claim the Nets.
Yeah. The Knicks, that's a really good point. The challenge with the Knicks is, I think all things being equal, if all the teams were great, the Knicks probably get the back page. They've just been bad for so long, it's hard to know.
Yeah.
Oh, they owned it in the late 90s, the mid to late 90s. Like they were the New York's team.
Yeah. I think there's a real argument that New York is an NBA first city. All things being equal, NBA matters most.
Yeah, yeah, I do
Um,
see that.
yeah, not Chicago. The Bears would matter the most. The Cubs would probably mean the
But the
most.
Bulls, though,
The Bulls were Jordan. Like, think about
eh,
Yeah.
how long it's been since the Bulls really mattered. They're always going to be popular, and that dynasty is going to be important. But they weren't an NBA first city; they were a Jordan first city.
okay,
They
okay.
had I think I don't think right now, all things being equal, if all the city teams in that city were competing for a championship, the Bears would matter more.
Okay, okay.
I think.
I
I
could
think.
see that. Midwestern, they like their football and hockey and all
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah.
So
All right.
Phoenix, Portland, obviously, because
Portland, yeah.
of the team.
Yeah,
You have the NBA basically only cities like Portland and San Antonio.
yeah.
Um,
Because
Utah.
Dallas is definitely more football, as much as the Cowboys are kind of a disaster.
football, always football.
Yeah. Houston Rockets. Because the Oilers are
Texans,
the Houston Texans. That's right.
they were, yeah.
They were the Oilers. Yeah. Um, yeah.
I'm sorry, this is a massive segue. Apologize. And a good episode of Cheers. Lilith is in this beautiful apartment getting everything ready for the dinner. She's taking the magazines, she's putting them in a nice stack. Frasier comes home late, and essentially there's just really funny little bickering before that, which makes you go like, these people shouldn't be married. Oh, they're arguing about they're passively aggressively arguing about how the magazines go out, who is late, what should be done, and finally Lilith blows up about how insensitive Frasier is being because she's so nervous about preparing dinner for his friends, and then an on-running joke begins about her going into the bathroom to hide. During this, also my joke of the week begins, which is the eroticism of the dip.
Oh God.
So good.
Frasier, they have a passionate kiss by the dip, and Frasier announces that anytime they mention dip during the evening, it's going to send them into waves of frenzy, and it'll be their little secret, and won't that be wonderful? And then that pays off later on when Sam is eating the dip and offering them dip, and it just reminds you why Kelsey Grammer got his own show, why they wanted BB Newirth back so badly.
Mm-hmm.
The way they pull this off, the chemistry between the two of them, this is just gorgeous, gorgeous examples of understated comedy, where they're incredibly turned on just hearing the word dip. They're looking at each other. It's sexy. It's hysterical. It's a little bit gross. It's really, really perfect.
Yeah, they kind of mastered the art of being really, really funny and broad in very small, specific ways. It's so much fun to watch and so different from the rest of the cast.
Yes.
Right.
And in this idea that the two of them are not meant to be sex symbols, and so when they do get aroused, they can make it so funny. It's so funny. It's really great.
But also, especially, I mean, they're also both attractive enough people that it's not like I don't feel like the joke is that they're unsexy being sexy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, like everything, like it doesn't. I don't feel like they're making like the idea of this couple having a robust sexual life isn't like a joke necessarily.
No.
It's just like a little uncomfortable because of how they choose to portray it.
Because of how like pent up and proper they seem, when they do get all sexed up, it's funny because it's unexpected. It is completely unexpected. You expect it from the desperate losers talking about sex they're never having. You're expecting it from Sam, obviously. You're expecting it from Diane. Carla's got 6 kids. You expect that from them. So when it happens with the most proper people on the show, it's hysterical in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
It is very, very funny. And, like Cheers is a very sexed up show in its own way. And they all express it very differently. It's really great. And this is a different way that these two characters get to express it and mine it for laughs. And they do it beautifully.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
Really great. Everything that they do during the dip stuff just cracks me up so hard. There is awkwardness where they talk about the honesty that Frasier and Lilith stress in their relationship, and then it turns out that Frasier did not say that he and Diane were engaged. I don't know how this was never supposed to come up. That it never has come up in the past is shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, just at some point, when you've been dating for a few months, you have that conversation as an adult of how close have you ever gotten to being married?
Right.
You have that chat, which is why I'm very pro Lilith here, because I feel like at some point that conversation came up, and instead of just willfully not mentioning it, he's acted like he'd never been engaged.
Mm-hmm.
Had to happen. So I'm Team Lilith right here. She goes in there. They keep locking themselves into the bathroom. They have to get the cheese knife to unlock them, which begs the question, where is the key? And when he does get the key, finally at the end of the episode, why didn't you get the key earlier? Why do we keep going for the cheese knife? But it still worked, and it still made me laugh.
Yeah.
It all worked. Eventually, yeah, Diane talks about how she was basically just using Frasier in a way that is not supposed to come across terribly, and does. Then she locks herself in the bathroom. They eventually make peace. They have dinner, which is apparently a very bad lasagna that no one understands is lasagna until Lilith tells them it is lasagna. There has been a woman hiding in the kitchen the entire evening, preparing the side dishes, who comes out. Turns out that, there's a funny moment where Diane talks about how, let's be grateful for all the past relationships our loved ones have had because it turned them into who they are now. And another one of Sam's old flames comes out later on. She leaves. Diane is very upset because they can't go anywhere without running into one of Sam's old flames, the movies. When we got our blood tests, which is my 80s thing of the week.
Yep.
The last time before, when really that was also a meme, getting a blood test when you had to get married, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, apparently the last state was Montana to repeal that just recently, where you don't need to get a blood test to get married anymore. And apparently it was instituted. A lot of people think it was to find out, like, started in the South to make sure that you weren't marrying your brother. And apparently it actually started in the 30s to make sure that you weren't marrying someone with syphilis. Wow. Thank you, blood test.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Well, damn.
I came out about syphilis because of this week's episode of Cheers.
Well, damn. That is...
You need to know.
Whoa.
Yep. So eventually Lilith and Diane lock themselves in the bathroom. Instead of getting them out, Frasier gets the key that has been hiding this whole time, locks them in, and says, well, why don't we go upstairs? You know, I have all 12 episodes of I, Claudius on tape, on VHS, which is another 80s thing, certainly.
Yep.
Oh, great, I love gladiator flicks. And they go up to watch I, Claudius. And I thought just multiple laugh out loud moments in this. Everyone doing it really well. Like, you know, Sam and Diane, who are the main characters of this show for 5 seasons, really taking a proper back seat to Lilith and Frasier in this, letting them be the comedy stars and getting their laughs in there at times. And just Ted Danson showing why Ted Danson has been a TV legend for 40 years. Like, he can be there and not doing much and still jump in with a huge laugh and also make everybody else look better. Mm-hmm. Just set everybody up beautifully, throwing out the passes like a great comedy point guard. It's just great. Really, really fun.
Yeah, this was, I thought, a really great episode for like seeing how other people in the world perceive Sam. Not just the people in the bar, not just, you know, the sort of Norm Cliff like hero worship of this Lothario, but also like, oh, there's a fairly large segment of the population that probably just views him as a dumb ex-jock. Mm-hmm. And obviously he's more than that, but like, you know, the way he carries himself through this whole episode, constantly eating, constantly talking with his mouth full, constantly talking about like what he wants to, you know, just wanting to get to dinner. Like he's just like a creature of sort of immediate physical needs. Mm-hmm. And like, obviously that's a huge part of who this guy is. And yep. it makes sense that Frasier would be like, come over for dinner, but also Lilith, make sure you help me talk to this guy because I don't know how long we
Yeah,
can chat.
that was my joke of the week. The whole oh, these people aren't the best conversationalists. I need you to help me.
That was one of the ones I listed. Yeah, that was really great.
Yeah,
Yeah. God, Kelsey Grammer had so many great lines in this week's.
truly.
Cracked me up. I don't want to step on Dave's, but yeah, the I will not be grilled like a common criminal. His delivery of that. Oh,
The logic of that whole argument going into that I thought was so well written
yep.
and so interesting, and like every like that was really one of my favorite interchanges in the whole episode because what Lilith is saying, sometimes I feel like in sitcoms and certainly on this show, like writers take shortcuts in order to make a comedic point. Like you pointed out earlier with the how could Lilith and Frasier not have talked about the fact that Frasier was engaged. That's a shortcut.
Yeah.
That argument doesn't take any shortcuts. Every response makes absolute sense as they go back and forth as to his like the nature of his and Diane's relationship. And it escalates so beautifully to that point where I will not be grilled like a con criminal and in a huff into the bathroom. So well done, like satisfying on every level.
Yeah, just beautifully done. Dave, did you want us to get your joke of the week in here as we've got ours done?
Yeah, I mean, mine was like a less of I guess of a joke. It's just such a funny, weird, delightful moment. I loved everything BB Newworth did in this episode.
Yes.
Like, every single thing, and you could like basically take any line she used as a joke. I mean, her exit line from the bar at the beginning, "You have no idea how happy you've made me." It's incredible. But my favorite moment was like just as they have this escalating battle over the arrangement of the magazines. Frasier wants to fan them, Lilith wants to stack them, until she finally flings them at him. The momentum of the fling actually throws her off balance onto the couch, and she hits it with like the point of her butt and springs right back up. It was clearly not meant to happen, and
right.
She carries on as if she absolutely intended to do it, and it's an incredible moment. And you're like, oh right, of course this person played Roxy Hart. Like this is somebody with like calves of steel and a core strength that could like crack almonds and also be the funniest person on screen at any moment.
Yeah, well put. Yeah, that was a great moment.
Mm-hmm.
That was a moment. And you can tell, and also a theater background of she didn't stop and be like, oh, that's a blooper, I fell down. We're going to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're not stopping.
Yeah, there's no cut in there. It's really, it's awesome.
Nope. That's
Respect.
a one cut. Yep.
I'm a Lilith stan.
It's so good. It's so good. I never really watched Frasier, but I watched all the episodes where she came back.
Mm.
If I heard there was a Frasier episode where Lilith was coming back, I watched.
Yeah, valid.
The way she melts, Mike, during the dip section, during your joke of the week, like she doesn't have a word, but the camera keeps panning to her, and there are such distinct stages of her melting from absolute fury to, oh my God, I want to make love to Kelsey Grammer right now.
Yep.
It's just impossible to not be delighted by.
Yeah. Magnificent. We are all stands for BB. All stands. I wish I had gotten to see her do Chicago when she was doing Chicago. I bet that would have been great.
Very brilliant.
If only. All right, let's get through some more categories. I did my 80s thing of the week too. Dave, what's your 80s thing?
I'm going to say the ubiquity of Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young's album Deja Vu, which features Our House. That album was up through my high school career as something that everybody knew all the songs on. I feel like for the generation prior to ours, it's like a touchstone album. It's like a legit super group. I think it's Young's first album with Crosby, Stills, and Nash. R.I.P. David Crosby. But and now I feel like it's absolutely like Crosby, Stills, Nash, CSNY. That album is no longer at all even anywhere near the fringes of the cultural conversation. And I feel like it endured for a ridiculously long time, to the point where you could sing Our House on a sitcom and everybody would sing along. So I'm gonna go with the last days of the Deja Vu CSNY album.
Wow, I had no idea that's where that came from. I knew this song from Cheers, and I always thought it was a show tune.
No,
And
it's a Graham Nash number.
never knew, never knew.
We learn on this podcast.
There you go.
I hope our viewers walk away with some new knowledge.
There you go. I did. Tookie, your 80s things, please.
Yeah, like you, I clocked the blood test thing. Totally a meme. So near the beginning of the episode, Diane and Sam both have a thing, and they couldn't quickly coordinate as to what that thing is. So not being able to have something at your disposal or a way to communicate, like, oh, I'm busy, feels like a plot device that could not exist in this day and age per se, in theory at least.
Okay.
Sam referencing the Johnson administration when thinking back to his history of dalliances, where Johnson wasn't so far away as president.
Yeah.
Yeah, I Claudius on tape. Also, just VHS being impressive. Is
Yeah.
definitely it felt
Time of really, and I great point about the VHS. I was trying to think when it stopped being a thing that you had a movie. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I would think it was transitioning into the streaming era.
Yeah.
Where it's like, all right, if we want to watch a movie, we could watch that movie now.
Right.
As opposed to the big deal when somebody had a movie, and it was a sliding scale of how big a deal it was.
Right.
Like when it was a very big deal, you knew who in your friend group had which movies at their home. Like you had a friend who had Raiders of the Lost Ark. You had a friend who owned Jaws. You had a friend who owned, the Star Wars trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
You knew where to go if you guys wanted to watch a movie.
Mm-hmm.
And it was why we watched the same movie so many times, because, movie was a big deal. And then it became like less common as VHSs went from $80 to $40 to $20. And then the DVD era came about, and DVDs got down to like, everyone, they were all under $20. And instead of having a shelf of VHSs that your family loved, you had a wall of DVDs. And now it's just, all right, let's get it off of whatever streaming service we want.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I feel like the era of having a movie being a big deal was a very 80s into 90s thing.
Yeah, I feel like the last gasp was like that the Disney sort of like cutting the prices and releasing some of their classics on cassette.
Opening the vault.
And they'd like push them for a year and be like, all right, well, it's going back in the vault, so this is your chance.
The Disney Vault. Woof. Did my childhood revolve around the Disney Vault or what?
What was your what was the one? Like, what was the one that you were like, I have to have that?
Oh man. God, I don't remember offhand. I know Pinocchio went in the vault. Fantasia went in the vault at one point. The OG Fantasia, because they did Fantasia 2000. And I love Sleeping Beauty. I couldn't get my hands on a copy of Sleeping Beauty for years.
Wow.
Because of the goddamn Disney Vault. Yeah. Yeah. That ruined lives. Disney Vault ruined lives.
Throwing this out there just as an aside, saw Beauty and the Beast, the animated one, maybe a week or two ago. That thing is magnificent. What a great little piece of storytelling.
Oh, it's
God,
great.
Animated Beauty and the Beast.
Rest in peace
It is
to Ellen.
Yeah.
Yo, the songs are incredible.
Yeah. Songs are perfect. And it just reminded me, when I watched the live action one, I was like, you guys just tacked on a lot of stuff that didn't need to be here. Because that story, like the animated Beauty and the Beast is like an hour 25 and perfect.
Yeah.
No fat on that.
Nope. Yeah.
Well,
just added fat to the live action to justify putting this out there again. Like we're in France in the live action one. We're in Paris, and I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here? I didn't need any.
Yeah.
I need none of this. Okay, this is a big Kevin Kline fan. I needed none of that.
We're gonna
Anyway,
go see. We're gonna go see The Little Mermaid in May. So pray for us, please.
yeah, I'm not dying for that one.
I'm not.
I
I want
the
to.
live actions that they
In
did.
theory, I support and I'm here for it.
Right. I know. I mean, I get what's appealing about that, and I'm rooting for it. But every
It's about to
live
be bad.
action I felt has been a lesser version of the animated version
Yes.
because it's all we're gonna have it do. We're gonna have live action people do this, and we're gonna add facts.
Yep.
We're gonna add stuff you didn't miss. Can you think of one that improved upon the original where you're like, wow, that was really great?
Other than the Broadway adaptation of Lion King, all been stinkers.
That's a very different beast, I think.
Yeah.
That and part of that is because I think the Broadway version really stuck to the original and just showed it to you in a really extraordinary visual way.
Yeah.
That was very true to the story. They weren't finding other little scenes to add in there. Yeah.
No, where they chose to add where it was the music of M. Lebo. I'm not sure how to pronounce their name, but yeah, it kind of like it gave a much more like that music seems to lean a lot more towards African tradition than perhaps the Tim Rice Elton John songs do, and it goes a long way towards opening that story up for me. Like the songs that are added into that feel a lot more helpful to that story.
I wish they had gone that route with the live action ones. That Lion King version instead of the Lion King that they actually did.
Well,
Weird.
Oh, okay. Well, I know we're on a bit of a time crunch. So it was real white.
So it's gonna be pretty quick.
It was real white. I counted total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. We're down 28 last week, 10 people of color this week.
Yeah.
It was real white.
More than half.
I stand BB Newworth, but damn.
Yeah. Yeah. We knew this was going to be a pretty tight one.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. All right. Some final thoughts on this week's episode. I really loved it. I really enjoyed it both times I watched. Such great comedy. This is way up towards the top of this season for me.
It was a banger.
Yeah, IMDb indicates that this is Kelsey Grammer's favorite episode that he filmed, and you see why. It's got that like sort of that Spencer Tracy kind of crackling dialogue that usually is the provenance of Sam and Diane, and he and Lilith get to play with it in a slightly more askewed way, and it's delightful. It's just delightful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cheers. Tip of the cap to you. Good one this week. Good one. I look forward to more Lilith in the future.
Same.
Do we have anything to plug?
Empire Review next Sunday.
Hey.
And my artwork falling off the wall. And also Justice for Angela Bassett.
Oh.
Man, that was complex feelings at the Oscars.
Yeah.
There was a part of me, so that's awesome. I might have to catch this Empire Review this week. I might need to try to venture down to Rhode Island.
Yeah, we got a joint plug.
I wanted Angela Bassett to have won for Tina Turner. Angela Bassett's one of my favorite actors of all time.
Yep.
When it happened, I thought there was a good chance of Jamie Lee Curtis winning, and it didn't feel inappropriate in a movie that was a juggernaut. And I really liked what Jamie Lee Curtis did in that. Yeah. And I think part of the challenge was I loved what Angela Bassett did in Wakanda Forever. I thought she was great. I think it's troubling when you've got a great performance in a movie that is flawed, which Wakanda was. But because it had to be, it was supposed to be something else.
Yeah.
You knew Ryan Coogler had this great plan for Chadwick Boseman. He talked about it. He's like, they were so excited about what Wakanda Forever was going to be. And then it wasn't. And then, all right, we've got to adjust to this tragedy that's breaking all of our hearts.
Yeah.
And I thought they did the best with what they could.
Truly.
They really made the best out of a brutal situation. But you watched it, and I watched it twice, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to watch it a third time. I've probably seen the original Black Panther 10 times. It's great. Like Black Panther is amazing, and this one you're just sort of like, it feels like watching an awkward eulogy, which is moving in its way. But yeah, I feel like you had, Jamie Lee Curtis had the advantage of having this great performance in a great movie. Then a
Hot
bunch
dog
of
fingers.
like,
Who else could make hot dog fingers sexy? I don't know.
right? Yeah, so I got the disappointment for Angela because she deserved so much more, but I was a little bummed that Jamie Lee got dragged because I thought she was pretty deserving too.
Yeah.
I would have been happy with Angela or Stephanie Sue winning this.
Oh
She
yeah.
was too. I would have been really happy with all of that, and I was so happy that everywhere got honored the way that it did because it was such a fun, great, touching movie and such a home run swing. It was really, really great. So I wish Angela had. It's fun. I think a lot of that was a rightful frustration at the career Angela Bassett has not had, and wanted her honored here because she should have been a gigantic movie star for the past 30 years. And instead, like, she's on this TNT show, like, I feel like that was a lot of the frustration of like, this woman should have led movies for the last 30 years. She should have had the career Meryl Streep has had because she's that good.
Yes.
And and I think that that came out, unfortunately, somewhat at the expense of Jamie Lee.
Yeah. Both well deserving, but damn it,
both
justice.
Yeah,
I think it's also like, I was just gonna say, like, I think the placement of that award too, like, it was a little nerve-wracking to see one of the first major awards go to a white person in an even, especially against a woman of color, not knowing that we were going to get wins from Michelle Yeoh and Ke Huy Quan and see what what ends up happening for that movie. There was I was nervous, like, oh God, this is going to be the bone they throw to Everything Everywhere All at Once, and it's going to be Jamie Lee Curtis out of this whole cast.
Yeah, that was scary. And then luckily it ended up being a rightful tidal wave.
Yeah,
I was really afraid that Cate Blanchett might win for that fucking waste of time, Tar. I'm sorry. I'm really angry that is getting honored so much. I'm so frustrated by it.
Ooh.
I tried to watch it again and I got mad again.
All the smoke for Tar.
Oh, I like, everyone's like, oh, it's so great to have him back. It's so magnificent. You see where everything is going in that movie. It is a great performance by Cate Blanchett, but it's not that hard a performance by Cate Blanchett. I've seen her do that 50 times. It's fine. It's like, oh, we're finally going to take on sexual abuse in the music industry by making up a woman, a lesbian who's going to do this instead of the 78 men who have done this. That's the movie we're making now. I know I've gone off on this before, but yeah, I tried it again and I'm like, fuck this movie. You know, the scene where she's going to leave the wife and there's going to be the tearful thing. I'm like, all right, I see this coming. I see everything in this movie coming a mile away. I'm so annoyed that people are like, oh, Tar. If that had won, I would have shit.
It would have been Crash all over again.
That would have been. Ugh. All right. It's all bad. Anyway, on that happy note, I'm Mike. That's Dave.
And no new episode next week.
Oh, yeah.
We're off next week. While Dave enjoys the sunshine of Florida with no books because it's Florida. But he can swim, and that'll be great. And it'll be nice. We'll be back in 2 more weeks as we hurtle towards the end of season 5. We're going to miss you all.